At the beginning of the drama, we are introduced to the main female lead, Yeju, who is a high school student. But she has a secret. She secretly writes wild romantic BL web novels, i.e., boys' love stories. However, her novels aren't very good, and that's why they don't get many views. So far, she's written a full 100 episodes, but each one has only received 1 or 2 views, and she hasn't received a single comment, which makes her upset. Then, her younger brother, Yu-do, arrives, who knows about Yeju's secret, that his sister writes romantic BL web novels. So, he blackmails his sister at any time, and today he was ordering Coke. Yeju, who bought Coke from the market, was returning when she saw that 4 hot boys had moved into her neighborhood, who were supposedly exercising. They were chatting, but Yeju, as a BL novelist, began to see them from a romantic perspective, thinking they were all romancing. In other words, she would make their movements look wrong in her imagination, and even make their dialogue wild, as if she was getting ideas for her new BL novel from watching them. So she just kept staring at them, laughing. But when the 2 brothers looked at Yeju, asking why she was staring at them, Yeju started walking away, and they couldn't understand who this girl was. Now we see a scene at Yeju's house, where everyone was having breakfast. Yeju told her mom that the 2 twins who used to live in the house next door had moved out, and someone else had come to live in their place. Mom said, "Well, that's okay. They should just be nice because we should maintain good relationships with our neighbors." Here we see that Yeju's father was extremely afraid of his wife, so he was speaking carefully. Meanwhile, Yu-do began blackmailing his sister again. She made a face and left her bowl for Yu-do, who picked it up and kept it with him. Yeju had to eat a small breakfast before leaving for school. When she came out, she saw 2 of the same 4 boys arguing. She secretly listened to their conversation. They were talking normally, but Yeju created a wild fantasy script of one saying, "I don't want to do it," while the other said, "You have to do it or I'll force you." The first one said, "You can't force me." And he replied, "I can't help but force you." In reality, they were just discussing the car ride. Yeju, in a playful way, made a bizarre line when an insect landed on her face. So she looks at her mobile and starts fixing her face. But they both see her, and one of them thinks she's recording a video of them. Angrily, he approaches Yeju, who is actually just fixing her hair. When Yeju sees this boy, she can't help but stare at him, admiring how hot he is. By the way, his name is Yu-suk, who gets angry at any moment. I mean, he's quite irritable. Yu-suk asks, "Why are you recording our video?" Yeju denies, No, I didn't do anything like that. I didn't record any video. In fact, I was just fixing my hair." But Yu-suk doesn't believe Yeju and tells her to delete it right away. Yeju continues to explain that she didn't really record the video. Just then, the other boy, Dongju, arrives and asks what happened. He then tells him everything about the girl recording them. Yeju tells Dongju the same thing, saying, "I didn't really record you two. An insect landed on my face, so I was just removing it." Dongju believes Yeju, but Yu-suk refuses. So when Yu-suk says that these days, students post anyone online just for a few views and comments, Yeju becomes enraged because her novels don't get the same views. She becomes tearful and starts screaming, "Yes, I admit I'm dying for views and comments because I've already written 100 episodes with great endings. None of them get any views. Not even a single comment has come out yet. So you two won't understand my pain." Then, they both look at Yeju in astonishment, wondering, what's wrong with this girl? Dongju says, "My friend Yu-suk doesn't trust anyone and doesn't like photos and videos, so he's behaving like this. Don't pay attention to what he says." But Yu-suk continued, asking, if she wasn't recording, why was she hiding? He then snatched Yeju's mobile phone. Yeju wasn't ready to show her phone because of the photo, and then her mobile phone fell down. She was shocked as the screen was broken. Both of them were shocked, and then Yeju yelled at Yu-suk, "Are you at peace now? You have no shame in bothering me like this." Dongju says he'll pay to have the phone repaired. While Yu-suk is still demanding Yeju show him the phone, she leaves saying, "I don't want anything from you." However, Yu-suk asks Yeju, "Do you know why uniforms are worn? To identify unruly kids like you. So if I see the video posted anywhere, I won't spare you." Yeju silently curses Yu-suk and leaves. The other 2 boys then come out and announce they're running late. The 4 of them start to leave. On the way, Yu-suk sees Yeju leaving, signaling that he's watching her, prompting Yeju to make a face. In the next scene, we're shown Yeju's school, which is an all-girls school. Yeju has already arrived when she sees her best friend Go-ya outside school. She tells us that she's a very good friend and has dated many boys since 6th grade, yet she hasn't found true love. The 2 friends leave together. Yeju recounts the morning's events, including how her mobile screen broke. Goya then says, "You should have charged those boys for the repairs," and then goes on to explain that she's been through another breakup. Yeju, surprised, asks, "Is that true love?" Goya replies, "Yes, I don't know when I'll find love." Yeju echoes the same sentiment, saying, "I don't know when I'll find love either. In fact, I don't even have a boyfriend. I feel like when I fall in love, I'll be able to write my novels better." Goya then replies, "Yes, then you'll be able to explain love better, and your views will start to increase. But it's so strange that we're best friends. But you still haven't told me about your ID or what kind of novels you write." Then Yeju cuts the conversation short, saying, "This secret will go with me to my grave, so don't worry too much." As they both jokingly enter the school, they see all the girls outside the teacher's office, watching as 4 hot new teachers have arrived. So they both come in to see what's going on. One of their friends explains that the new teachers are young, not old. They've all completed college and are incredibly intelligent, hot, and handsome. "That's why I'm so happy to be in an all-girls school today." Then, we're shown how a teacher named Miss Yang is introducing all the teachers. She first introduces Ji John, the physical education teacher who has broken numerous college records. Then she tells them about Du Ju, a language teacher who knows many languages, but will only teach Japanese and English here. After seeing Du Ju, the girls say, "We've heard this teacher is the son of a very wealthy family." Dong-ju is also revealed to be a Korean literature teacher who wrote a poem in 2020 that became very famous. Goya seems to be quite taken with Dong-ju, so she's overjoyed to see him, but Yeju recognizes him as the same one she met that morning. Then she begins to worry that the other one might be there too. Then she's shown the teacher, who she says is their new math teacher, who is incredibly intelligent. He broke many records during his college days and had many other job opportunities, but he chose our school. Yeju is shocked to see Suk, wondering if this jerk is going to teach at their school. What will happen to me now? The girls, seeing these 4 teachers, became so excited that they slammed the door so hard that the lock broke, and they all fell inside. Everyone was shocked to see what was going on. Even teacher Yang yelled at them, calling them all how rude. Then all the girls started running away. But when Yeju woke up, Yusuk saw her and recognized her as the same rude girl from that morning. Why Yeju made a face at him and walked away, staring at Yusuk. Finally, another girl came running in, dropping her mobile phone. She picked it up, closed the door, and ran away. The 4 friends then talked about how handsome these 4 teachers were. Finally, our crush on music teacher Eden would finally end. Then teacher Eden came out and asked, "Are you talking about me?" Then Yeju's friends say goodbye to him and move on. Teacher Eden is quite surprised, wondering what happened to them. Then all the friends sit in the class and start talking about which teacher they liked more. Goya says, "I really liked teacher Dong-ju." Then one of them says, "Hey, he seems silent to me." Then Goya glares at her friend angrily. Then she says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have a crush on yours, but on the Japanese language teacher." Goya then asks Yeju, "Which teacher did you like?" But Yeju didn't say anything because she had already had a falling out with one of them. Then they got the news that all 4 of them would be teaching them, and one of them would also be their homeroom teacher. So they all started making noise. But then a girl named Han-soo, the most intelligent student in the class, tells them to be quiet. Yeju and Goya go out to talk, and we're shown the teacher's office, where everyone is checking their schedules, and he's busy cleaning. He's actually a real lover of cleanliness. In other words, he's the kind of person who can't stand even the slightest mess. While Du-ju just keeps clicking photos, Yusuk hides his face because he doesn't really like photos and videos. When Du-ju notices that Yusuk is going a little too deep into the cleaning, which he was actually enjoying, he tells Yusuk to have some shame. "Just stop now, or everyone else will think you're crazy." Yusuk tells his friends, "I don't like the way it looks. Get it out of my sight." Du-ju laughs, "Hey, I don't like the way it looks." Dong-ju explains that the seats are assigned, so they can't exchange them. Why Yusuk replies, "That means I'll have to endure this red monkey face." The 3 friends are shocked. Du-ju tells Yusuk, "Please don't call me that here. I have some respect." Then he starts calling Yusuk battery. Yusuk calls him monkey again, and the 2 get into a heated argument, abusing each other. But the other 2 friends manage to calm them down. Meanwhile, Yeju is with Goya. Goya is explaining why she's so taken with teacher Dong-ju. "Because seeing him gave me my first snow," she says, "and first snow means first love. The person we love with all our heart is our first snow." Yeju then replies, "Well, if that's the case, I wonder when I'll find my first snow." She then asks, But what about your other boyfriends? Didn't you feel your first snow when you saw them? Goya replies, that's exactly what I felt when I saw teacher Dongju. I've never felt that way with anyone else. I mean, he seemed too manly to me. Yeju then begins to tell her story, saying she's met teacher Dongju and math teacher Yusuk. She then recounts the entire incident from that morning, which surprised Goya, and Yeju says, that's why I don't want teacher Yusuk to be our teacher anyway. But when she entered the classroom and saw Yusuk there, she was utterly shocked and quickly closed the door. When she opened the door again, Yusuk was now looking at the two of them, especially Yeju, because from now on, Yusuk was Yeju's homeroom teacher, so he was looking at Yeju in the same way, saying, after that, we see Yusuk taking everyone's attendance. The girls just stare at him, saying, wow, he's so handsome. We're lucky he's our homeroom teacher. Now we'll feel like coming to school every day, and we'll be able to study hard. While Yeju is making faces at Yusuk, he mentions Han-soo, who nods. Yusuk says, I'm impressed with you because you won a gold medal in Keimo. Han-soo thanks him, while Yeju, who isn't sure what Keimo is, says, I don't know either. Actually, Keimo is a high-level Korean math competition that Han-soo won. Yusuk then mentions Jia, who wasn't in class, but then she comes in, says yes, and sits down, as if she's a little disturbed. Yusuk notices this. He calls out the other girls' names, and when he calls out Yeju's name, she rudely but manically says, yes. Then Yusuk notices her. Oh, so that's her name. He keeps saying Yeju's name over and over until she lovingly says, yes. Yusuk then introduces himself to everyone, and all the girls start clapping and cheering. Then Yusuk gives a motivational speech, which they all listen to with rapt attention, as if he were singing a song. Only Yeju looks at Yusuk and wonders why he became their homeroom teacher. After the speech ends, the girls praise Yusuk. But Yeju asks her friend, is this jerk here to teach us math or to prepare us for war? Thinking he's a captain? Yusuk overhears all this and calls out Yeju's name, asking her for her last mock test marks. Yeju initially wonders why she's being asked for her marks. Then she quietly tells him the marks. Yusuk asks, didn't I hear? Then she says 4. Yusuk asks, what 40? Then she loudly declares, no, I only got 4 marks. Hearing this, all the girls burst out laughing. Yusuk is also surprised, wondering how anyone could have scored so low. He approaches Yeju and says, with the attitude you show, you should pay a little attention to math. He then leaves, telling Yeju to come and meet him in his office. Yeju then asks her friend, why should I be the only one getting scolded? She goes to the teacher's office with Yusuk, where he sits quietly with her. Yeju becomes increasingly nervous. Then she musters up the courage to tell him, sir, I really didn't record any videos of you. You can check my mobile if you want. There's nothing here, and there's nothing in the recent deletes either. Then Yusuk asks, don't you know why I brought you here? Yeju recalls how she had probably been rude to him in class and begins to apologize profusely. Please forgive me. I promise I'll never make the same mistake again. But Yusuk explains, you got a 4, so you're standing here. Even Dongju is shocked to hear Yeju's score. After giving Yeju a lengthy lecture on studies, Yusuk says, please bring me a 20-page apology essay. Yeju is shocked. Please have some mercy on me, 20 pages. But he doesn't listen and tells her to leave. He also tells her to send Jia to him. Yeju sadly starts to leave. Then Dongju opens the door for Yeju and asks, what's your next class? This irritates Yusuk, or perhaps makes him a little jealous. We then see Dongju apologizing to Yeju for Yusuk's behavior, explaining that Yusuk is always angry. He's childish and immature, but not bad at heart, so she shouldn't misunderstand him. Maybe he's just angry with you. That's why he's acting like this. Yeju ignores this. She just stares at Dongju, admiring how sweet and handsome he really is. After a brief conversation, she tells him that her class is over, and Dongju bids her goodbye and leaves. Watching him go, Yeju says, wow, he's like an angel. The only bad guy is his friend, Yusuk, who's a demon. Then we see her return to class and wake Jia up, saying that teacher Yusuk called her. Jia gets up and leaves. When Goya asks Yeju what's going on, she explains that Battery is taking revenge on me and using my low marks as an excuse, so I have to write a 20-page apology. Then she starts getting very upset. When Jia appears before Yusuk, he asks her, why are you late to school? You don't look like you've slept well. What's going on in your life? If you have any problems, you can tell me. But Jia doesn't answer. He then tells her to go back to class. Then another teacher says, You shouldn't interfere so much in the lives of the students. Otherwise, if something happens, your contract will be in trouble. I'm explaining this to you as your senior. Yusuk doesn't say anything to her. He just looks at Jia, quite upset. In the next scene, we see Dongju come to teach in Iju's class. The girls are mesmerized by his charm, especially Goya, who stares at Dongju nonstop, saying, "You'll see, one day he'll be my future husband." Then we see Ji-jeon making the girls do high jumps, but none of them are able to land a good jump. Still, Ji-jeon gives his best, being both strict and attentive to everyone. Meanwhile, when Dooju is teaching Japanese in class, the girls are still in a good mood just looking at him. Dooju's nature is also quite friendly, so he gets along well with everyone and even tells them stories from his college days. This impresses the girls even more. In a way, the entire school is filled with joy because of these 4 handsome teachers. Meanwhile, Yusuk is teaching his class seriously, helping Hansu with math problems and explaining how to use formulas. Yeju, however, keeps making faces at Yusuk whenever she sees him. Soon, it's time for school to end. When Yusuk asks where Jia went, no one knows anything. Yeju reveals that Jia left as soon as the last class was over. Yusuk looks at Yeju and sneers. "You'll be cleaning the class now," and then leaves. Yeju is shocked, wondering why she's being treated so harshly. The scene cuts to Yeju, who has come to throw out the garbage, complaining about Yusuk. Suddenly, she hears voices and starts looking around to find where these strange sounds are coming from. Then she sees Ji-jeon making Dongju exercise, but Yeju imagines it differently, as if the two are openly romancing. Holding Dongju's hands, Ji-jeon says, "You're as soft as a soft toy." Yeju really likes this line and says, "Wow, what a dialogue." In reality, Ji-jeon is just helping Dongju relax his muscles after a tiring day. Then they leave, and Ji-jeon says, "I'll give you a massage at home tonight." Yeju is even more shocked by what she thinks is a romantic conversation between them. Just then, her nose starts bleeding, possibly from overthinking the situation. In the next scene, we see Yeju in the library, where her friend has stomach pain. Yeju gives her some medicine, saying that her mother gave it to her. Her friend thanks her and leaves. Yeju then starts thinking about what new topic she should write for her romantic novel, since she has already covered many themes: rich and poor, senior and junior, and enemies. Just then, Ji-jeon's words flash in her mind, how he said Dongju was soft like a soft toy. So she decides, why not write a story about friends falling in love? She even imagines 2 childhood friends with faces like Ji-jeon and Dongju. In her imagination, Ji-jeon teases Dongju, telling him to spend time with him instead of studying, and even snatches his pen and throws it away. Yeju finds the idea very interesting, but then stops herself, saying, "Oh no, these 2 are my teachers. I can't make up stories about them." Still, she can't help thinking that they look really cute together. In the next scene, we see the 4 boys' house, where Dongju is preparing breakfast for everyone. Meanwhile, Ji-jeon is getting annoyed by Dooju's ringing alarm. Yusuk is already ready for school on time. Then we see Dooju's room, where he is still sleeping, completely unaware of the noise. So Dongju goes in, turns off the alarm, and wakes him up, saying that breakfast is ready. "Come quickly," he says, "or the toast will get cold." Dooju asks, "Is the toast crispy? Because I only eat crispy toast." Finally, we see all 4 of them sitting together and having breakfast. From their conversation, we learn that the house belongs to the rich boy Dooju, and the others are renting it, but they're also friends. When Dooju complains about someone turning off his alarm, he says, "Don't you have any common sense? You're bothering the other roommates." Then Dooju adds, "Can't I just stay in my own house with the alarm sounding in peace? You all are tenants here." Dongju replies, "This house is yours, so we've given you the biggest room." Then Ji-jeon says, "Just because it's his house, does that mean he can do whatever he wants? He keeps nagging us all the time, even though I take everyone to school in my car." Dooju responds, "Your car is a wreck. I don't like it at all." Then Dongju says, "But you like my toast, don't you? I cook for everyone here, so you shouldn't be so irritated." After that, the 3 of them start arguing. In the next scene, we see the school again. When Dongju comes to teach Iju's class, Yeju appears to be studying diligently. She keeps scribbling in her notebook over and over again. In reality, she isn't studying. She is carefully observing Dongju, noting every detail, every style, and every expression, because she has decided to make him a character in her novel. However, she plans to keep it private and not publish it. When she sees Goya completely lost in watching Dongju, Yeju feels happy for her. As Dongju is leaving after class, Goya tells Yeju to learn from her. She then goes to Dongju, stops him, and gives him a chalk stand as a gift, saying it will help him. Dongju looks at Goya, and she gets lost in his eyes, thinking, wow, he's really so handsome. She even imagines snow falling around her, taking it as a sign of true love. Dongju accepts the gift, thanks her, and leaves. Still lost in her thoughts, Goya tells Yeju that she has never seen a man as handsome as Mr. Dongju and that he is all she wants now. In the next scene, Ji-John arrives at the playground. Yeju observes him carefully, noting his bold personality, distinct charm, and unique style. She thinks he would be perfect as her second novel character, especially considering how manly he appears with Mr. Dongju. Ji-John tells all the girls that they will be running a race. Some girls feel nervous, while others are excited. When the race begins, everyone gives their best, but Yeju falls behind. Ji-John comes to motivate her, and in her imagination, she turns his words into a romantic scene, as if he is encouraging Dongju, "You can do it. You have to do it. Give it your all." Thinking about this, Yeju blushes and suddenly starts running at full speed, so fast that she overtakes everyone and wins the race. Ji-John is shocked to see how quickly she ran. After the race, while the other girls are still recovering, Ji-John comes to Yeju with a water bottle and asks if she is okay. Yeju becomes nervous seeing such a handsome teacher so close. Ji-John says, "Are you a runner? Because you have real talent. If you want, I can train you on Wednesdays to prepare for competitions. Think about it, give me your answer, and fill out the form." Yeju just stares at him, her heart racing as he praises her and speaks kindly. She quickly makes an excuse and leaves. After walking a short distance, she looks back at him and wonders, why was my heart racing just now? No, I can't have feelings for my teacher. He's just a character from my novel. He's supposed to be Dongju's lover. But why did I enjoy being close to him and talking to him so much? Am I going to... In the next scene, we see Yeju sitting down to write the story and thinking, I've finalized 2 characters, but now who should I create as the third character for the love triangle? At first, she considers putting teacher Duju in the middle, who has returned from abroad to find love, but then she says, now that's too lightweight. Then she remembers how Dongju said about Yusuk, I agree that Yusuk is childish, mature, but has a good heart. Then she remembers Yusuk, who has a whole lot of anger within him, which would be perfect for jealous moments. So she finalizes Yusuk as the third character. She then says, our story will be like this. Yusuk, a math genius but also a total arrogant jerk, short-tempered and bad boy, is finishing college with Dongju and dating him, and Dongju's major is Korean literature. While Yusuk secretly likes Dongju, he pretends to be strict and bullies him. As for Dongju, his feelings for Yusuk are clear. He's liked her for years. However, he feels that Yusuk doesn't like him very much. Then, their story will be filled with a physical education teacher who has been in love with Dongju since school. But Dongju loves Yusuk, so Dongju is dating Yusuk, and the PT teacher is jealous of them together. Then, when Dongju becomes upset with Yusuk and leaves, Yusuk returns to Dongju with regret and apologies. But Dongju will chase him away, and the PT teacher will take advantage of the situation, as his path will now be clear. And then, the math teacher will be left pining and crying for the love he deserves. Yeju was overjoyed. Wow, what a story I've created. I'm truly great. What a masterpiece. Now, without further ado, I should write episode 1. Then she wrote the title of the novel, We Were Friends, and then began to write episode 1 diligently. However, she didn't use the real names of these 3 characters, instead creating different names of her own. To avoid confusion, we'll use the real names in the explanation. In the novel, we see Duju pushing and fighting with Dongju, asking, "Are you crazy that you can't understand that Yusuk doesn't love you, but is just using you?" Then he insults you at random and even yells at you. Then Donju says, "I agree, he's just childish and immature, but he's not bad at heart. But still, thank you for caring so much about me. You're the only one who truly cares for me. Therefore, you'll always be my best friend." Duju was shocked, wondering if he'd just be my best friend. "Couldn't you like me more than just Yusuk?" Just then, Yusuk entered. Furious that Duju was standing with his boyfriend, Donju also panicked. Then Yusuk stormed downstairs and said, "Don't you want to study math with me, that you're standing here and talking nonsense? So come with me now." Donju happily started to leave with Yusuk, but Yusuk stopped and teased Duju. "See, Dongjen is all mine." Then he left. Duju became so angry with Yusuk that he wanted to kill Yusuk to win his love, but he couldn't do anything about it. After writing so much, Yeju began to praise herself, saying, "Wow, what a story I've written." But she starts to worry about whether or not to publish it because these are all my teachers. "I don't feel right doing this without their permission," she says. So for now, she doesn't post the episode, instead putting it in drafts and writing another last scene, depicting Jijen and Dongju's school time. They were both interested and romantically involved when Duju entered, shocked. Seeing them so close, he wondered what they were doing. Then he stood up, his shirt closed. This means that Yeju has added Duju to the novel. In the present, we see Yeju leaving for school when she sees Yusuk also leaving at the same time. And today, he's not taking a car, but a bus. Yeju becomes irritated, wondering if he was supposed to come out at the same time. Well, Yeju keeps walking behind Yusuk, making a face when she sees that suddenly Yusuk has stopped for some reason and is checking something, as if something has fallen on him. Then suddenly, he screamed very loudly and fell down and became unconscious. Yeju gets worried that what has happened to Sir, so she immediately runs towards Yusuk and tries to wake him up, but Yusuk was completely unconscious. Then, when Yeju looks at Yusuk's face, she finds that there is pigeon poop on his face, due to which Yusuk has fainted because he cannot tolerate any dirt at all. Then, she cleans Yusuk's face with her handkerchief and becomes increasingly perplexed, wondering what to do next, how to revive Mr. Yusuk, as no one is around to help. She first attempts CPR. Then she's forced to give him mouth-to-mouth support, but Yusuk finally regains consciousness. He takes a deep breath and gets up. He sees that her face is clean, but he can't see Yeju because he doesn't have his glasses. Yeju says, "I'm Yeju." Yusuk begins to clean his face, but he's still disgusted. Yeju laughs and asks, "Are you really just pigeon poop?" Yusuk, irritated, explains that it wasn't just poop. It can cause various infections and diseases. Yeju falls silent. Yusuk then searches for his glasses, but he can't find them anywhere. Yeju offers Yusuk help, but she can't find it anywhere either. Then, while she's searching elsewhere, she hears the sound of something breaking under her feet, which turns out to be Yusuk's glasses. This shocks Yeju. Yusuk asks, "What's that sound? Did you step on my glasses?" She hesitates. No, sir, I didn't do anything like that." She then discreetly puts the broken glasses back in her bag. Yusuk asks Yeju the time, then hands her his mobile phone, asking her to give him Dongju's number. Yeju unlocks the phone with Yusuk's face lock and gives him the number. Yusuk explains the situation to Dongju and asks him to get another pair. In the next scene, we see everyone searching for Yusuk's glasses, but they can't find them anywhere. Little do these poor people know that Yeju has hidden them in her bag. Then Yusuk puts on the other glasses, and they all search for a long time. Then Dongju, irritated, said, "Someone must have taken them. That's why we can't find them anywhere." Yeju, frightened, agreed. Since they were all running late for school, they all started to leave. But when they got into the car, they saw Yeju and realized she was trying to ask for a lift. That's why she was staring at them like that. So they all let Yeju get in their car, as they were all already late for school. Dongju asks Yeju, "Are you sitting properly?" She replies, Yes, I am sitting perfectly. Then she texts Goya, you won't believe where I am right now. I mean, I'm coming in the car with our teachers. Goya, shocked, reads this. And Yeju says, I'll tell you everything when I get to school. Just then, Yusuk reclines his seat. This causes Dongju a lot of trouble, but he doesn't say anything. Then Yeju gets very angry at Yusuk, thinking about how selfish he is. He only thinks about himself and keeps bothering poor Mr. Dongju. Perhaps it's because he's bothering everyone. And that's when Dongju starts to fall asleep. Then Dooju asks, didn't you sleep well last night? He starts kicking Jijeon's seat, saying, he must have kept you awake last night too. Jijeon replies, sorry, I didn't do anything intentionally, and Dongju needed a second round anyway. Yeju, shocked, hears this, wondering what they're talking about. Dooju then says, I agree that you two enjoy being together, but please have some mercy on Dongju. He needs rest too. Actually, their words meant something else, but Yeju misinterprets everything again and says to herself, God, please forgive me, because I can't control my dirty mind. Even Yeju's face turns red from what she's thinking. Dooju asks, what's wrong? If you're feeling hot, should I turn on the AC? Yeju refuses, saying, no, I'm just enjoying the ride. Yusuk falls asleep on the way. Finally, they all reach school. Yeju remembers that if the girls see her in the teacher's car, their fans will bully her terribly about her relationship with them. So she lies down and says, please don't stop the car here. If everyone sees me, it won't be good for me. Then the 4 teachers start to get worried. But now nothing could happen because they had already arrived at school and the girls had gathered around their car like celebrities. So they all came out with full attitude and started leaving. While the girls were in a bad mood, Dooju was thoroughly enjoying the attention. In the next scene, we see Jijeon pull the car away from everyone, park it in the parking lot, and leave. After he leaves, Yeju is finally seen lying there, covered with a coat, and remembers that Mr. Yusuk gave her this coat for help. That's why she was making a face. But then she says, it's okay, Mr. Yusuk saved my life today, so I won't say anything bad to him. Then she starts memorizing lines about Jijeon and Dooju, about how they were talking dirty. I'll definitely add all of this to my novel. Then, as she comes out, he saves her from falling, having come back to get his coat. When Yeju comes out, Yusuk takes his coat. He asks Yeju to tell the truth. That breaking sound was my glasses, right? Yeju confidently denies it. No, they weren't your glasses. Then Yusuk says, if I find out you were lying, remember, I won't spare you. And what about those 20 pages of your sorry essay? I want them today, or it'll be even worse for you. Yeju then makes a face and says, you cruel bastard. In the next scene, we see him bring a new student to class and tell her she's come from Singapore on an exchange program. The girl, named Jenny, greets everyone. As she's about to sit down, Yeju notices that Yusuk isn't wearing his original glasses. Yeju feels bad. The girl sits next to Jia, but Jia doesn't talk to Jenny. After Yusuk leaves, after teaching everyone, all the girls come up to Jenny and try to speak English with her. Jenny also reveals that she knows a little bit of Korean, so Yeju and Goya tell her their names. A girl asks, why are you here? She replies, because I'm a big fan of the local food and Korean dramas. The girls then ask, why didn't you choose a school in Seoul, since most people go to Seoul? She replies, I was choosing Seoul, but I accidentally chose this school. All the girls started laughing awkwardly, but then Jenny mentioned that she really liked this place. The girls became even happier, and they all had a nice conversation with Jenny. Afterward, we see Yeju trying to put on Yusuk's glasses, having noticed that they might be bothering him. She tried very hard, but they wouldn't fit, causing Yeju to become upset. Then we see that when Dooju came to teach Japanese, Yeju was completely focused on writing sorry essay. Dooju notices this, so when he comes to Yeju, she hides her notebook. But Dooju sees this and gets angry. How can you do Mr. Yusuk's assignment in my class? No one in my class can ignore me and my studies. But you did this today? Well, Goya was also sleeping, but she had applied makeup on her eyes, so she was saved. Here, Yusuk is having a severe headache and is also having pain in his eyes because the glasses which are broken were some special, super expensive glasses which are not made easily. So Yusuk is having problems with other glasses. Then Duju also brings Yeju with him here and starts complaining to Yusuk about his student Yeju. Duju says to Yusuk, so now you have to deal with her. Yusuk scolds Yeju and asks her to recite the essay. Yeju says, do I have to recite it here in front of everyone? Yusuk says, yes. Yeju first apologizes, saying, I shouldn't have given up on math, but then she starts criticizing math, saying, it's a weird thing that no one understands. Dongju and Ji Jian both burst out laughing. Yusuk asks, are you sorry or complaining? He then says, let it go. Just remember that from now on, you have to pay attention to your classmate Jia. If I don't see her in class, she'll get 2 points deducted, but you'll get 4. Hearing this, Yeju is shocked. Why are you doing this to me? He then says that classmates should look out for each other and then tells Yeju to leave. Yeju, unwilling to leave, pleads with Yusuk to listen to her, but he refuses. So she leaves with a frown. When she tells her friends about this, they all say, yes, teacher Yusuk is being too rude to you. Could it be that your face resembles his ex-girlfriend's? That's why he's teaching you a lesson? Another says, teacher Yusuk must have some grudge against your family. A third says, oh no, sir just doesn't like her face. Everyone laughs, but Yeju is still upset because she knows Jia won't stop and she'll lose 4 points today. So Goya says, I have an idea. Then the scene cuts to Yusuk arriving in class and finding that Yeju isn't feeling well. Yusuk came over to Yeju and looked at her. Realizing that she was wearing makeup and whitening her face, it meant she wasn't sick. So he started asking Yeju some really tough math questions, which of course she couldn't answer. He then said, that's enough of you. You can't study, and you're causing all this drama. He then asked Yeju to write another 10-page apology and then left. Yeju kept interrupting him, and then she started telling Yusuk that he must have been her enemy in a previous life. So she imagined herself scolding Yusuk in her novel, just like he scolded her. Now, because she's the writer of the trio, she says, Dongju and Jijan, you two are doing well, but this Yusuk knows absolutely nothing. He acts so poorly and still thinks who he is. Yusuk begins to apologize to her like a student, and when he says, but I'm doing my best, Yeju scolds him even more, asking how dare he answer back, and then she says many other things. After all this, Yeju finally calms down because she can't do this in real life. In the next scene, we see all the friends enjoying the meal. Jenny says she loves the food here. Goya asks, do you have a boyfriend? Jenny replies, yes, he's in Brazil. All the friends get excited to ask Jenny about her love story. Jenny explains, I went on a trip to Brazil where I met my boyfriend for the first time, who is a student at a photography school. And then he flirted with me, saying cheesy lines, asking me for a photo shoot, and then he proposed. I actually found his words funny, but he was quite cute, so we got into a relationship. Then all the friends started talking about how cute your love story was, while Yeju listened to all this so she could make up dialogues and add them to her novel. In the next scene, we see Yusuk returning from an eye checkup. The doctor told him he'd only get his new special glasses in 2 weeks. So he went to the medical store to get medicine. He was helped by none other than Yeju, who owns this medical store. She gave him the medicine and started taking the payment. But then she noticed that as soon as Yusuk took off his glasses to use eye drops, she couldn't help but stare at him as he looked even more handsome, so much so that she couldn't take her eyes off him. When Yusuk sees him, she laughs and says, "You look just like comic book heroes who become more handsome when they take off their glasses. So you should wear lenses." He doesn't respond to her and quietly starts walking away. But then he stops and says, "Yes, I look even more handsome when I take off my glasses." as if I'm a hero straight out of a comic book. Yoosuk's mother smiles at this. Yoosuk, after hearing his praise and praising himself, leaves. In the next scene, we see Ji Jian give Yeju an after-school program application, which she takes. As she's about to leave, she notices that Yoosuk is bringing medicine with him. She wonders if he's sick. Then, when Ji Jian asks what's wrong, Yoosuk explains that it will take 2 weeks to get new glasses. A worried Dongju asks, "How will you manage until then?" This makes Yoosuk even more worried, as losing his glasses is making his headache worse. Then, we see a class scene where, after a teacher leaves, Jia, as usual, starts to leave before school is over. Yeju tries to stop her, saying, "If you want, you can come home with me." But she doesn't listen and walks away. Yoosuk, who witnessed this from behind, comes over, and Yeju says, "Teacher, you saw how hard I tried to stop Jia, but she won't stop." But Yoosuk still deducts 4 points from Yeju. Hearing this, she stands in shock. This angers Yeju immensely, so much so that she comes outside to the school dustbin and, looking at his glasses, thinks, "He really hates me for no reason." Then she remembers how Yoosuk scolded her for deleting the video, then gave her a 20-page essay to write, insulted her in class, and then deducted 4 points for no reason. This enrages Yeju so much that she throws away the glasses that she had so painstakingly put together to give back to him, and which had caused Yoosuk so much distress. She simply throws them away and leaves, saying, "Yoosuk and his glasses deserve the dustbin." In the next scene, Yeju enters and finds Dongju, who asks, "What's wrong? Why are you sad?" She explains, "My class teacher doesn't like me." Dongju asks, "Who's Yoosuk?" But why? She explains that he hasn't liked her ever since they misunderstood that she was recording his video. Dongju says, "No, that can't be possible." Yeju then starts recounting all the bad things Yoosuk has been doing to her, but Dongju still insists that Yoosuk wouldn't bother someone like that without reason. There must be something else. Hearing this, Yeju understands that he won't listen to any bad things about his friend, nor will he believe her, so she leaves. In the next scene, Yeju recalls her novel, remembering where she left off. She says, No, the ending of episode 1 isn't good. I should add more. Why not have Miss Yoosuk get beaten up by Ji Jian? He's a real jerk anyway." So she adds, when Yoosuk took Dongju with him, Ji Jian came from behind and punched Yoosuk hard. Yoosuk gets up, but pretends to be cool and starts to leave, saying, "I'll see you later." Yeju says, No, something's missing." She then asks Ji Jian to hit Yoosuk again. Yoosuk panics, but Ji Jian is overjoyed and punches Yoosuk hard, landing a heavy blow. Dongju is also surprised by this. Yeju exclaims, "Wow, now I'm having fun. I mean, the episode is complete. But alas, I can't make it public. Should I make it public or not?" Hearing this, the characters from her novel also begin requesting, "Yes, please post it." Yeju asks them, "Do you all want to go to the real world?" They say, "Yes," and then start urging Yeju, "Please post it. Please post it." After much deliberation, Yeju finally posts episode 1, saying, "We'll see what happens next. Anyway, I've written a great story this time." All 3 characters were also happy that now they would go to the real world. Well, in the next scene, we see that when Yoosuk was at home and was still having a headache, Dongju asked if he was having any more pain. He said, "Yes, but nothing. I'll be fine." Jiqian said, "I don't understand what someone could have gotten out of stealing Yoosuk's glasses." Then Duju said, "Now I understand everything. That means the glasses must have gotten stuck in the tree." Because Yoosuk had said he had thrown them up and they weren't on the ground. Dongju said, "I thought the same thing and checked the tree, but they weren't there either." Ji Jaeon asked, "Did the birds put the glasses in their nest?" Dongju said, "Yes, that's right. That means they must have been in the nest because birds like shiny things." Ji Jaeon tells Yusuk, "Hey friend, you should get new glasses made." Dongju then explains that they were special glasses that aren't easily made. Then Yusuk got up and left, trying his best to finish his work, but his headache kept getting worse, preventing him from doing anything. The next day, we see Yusuk vomiting, his pain worsening. Dongju says, "No problem, I'll tell the school you weren't feeling well, which is why you couldn't come." Meanwhile, Ji Jaeon and Dongju feel bad for Yusuk, thinking he'll die. The next day, when Yeju's class starts, Dongju arrives and tells everyone teacher Yusuk won't be coming today. He's not feeling well, so I'm attending class. Goya is overjoyed, thinking how nice it would be to see teacher Dongju's face first thing every morning. Yeju wonders what's wrong with teacher Yusuk that he hasn't come. Later, the friends discuss that teacher Yusuk must have gone to meet his girlfriend and is pretending to be sick, as he was perfectly fine until yesterday. Goya then says, "It's a good thing teacher Yusuk is sick because he deducted my friend's points." When the friends return to class, Yeju notices Hansu laughing and talking with teacher Yusuk. She listens in and realizes that teacher Yusuk is really sick. After hanging up, Hansu looks at Yeju and leaves with a frown. In class, Yeju repeatedly thinks about Yusuk, wondering what's wrong with him. Is it because of his glasses? But then she says, "What's wrong with me?" But when she arrived at the teacher's office, she saw Ji Jeon and Dongju printing out a poster saying missing glasses, saying that Yusuk's health wasn't improving at all, and that the doctor had said that if the situation wasn't handled, his other eye could be in danger. Just then, Yeju arrived and asked if the glasses were really that important. Dongju explained the situation to Yeju, who hurriedly ran away. On the way, she remembered Dongju's words, who had told her that the glasses were specially made for Yusuk and that he couldn't live without them, and that it would take 2 weeks to make another pair. Guilt-ridden, Yeju arrived at the trash bin and realized that all the garbage had already been taken away. So she ran after the truck. She stopped a girl, took the bicycle, and got ready to chase after the truck. Then she continued driving like crazy, desperately trying to stop the truck, shouting, "Please stop. This is a matter of someone's life, so please stop." But the truck wouldn't stop, and Yeju had to chase it on his bicycle for quite some time. Finally, Yeju managed to stop the truck and pleaded, "Please let me get something from the garbage, or my teacher will die." Uncle asked, "What nonsense are you talking about?" She replied, "Please listen to me, because my teacher's glasses are very important to him in the garbage, and if he doesn't find them today, he will surely die." The scene then cuts to Yeju searching for the glasses in the garbage. Uncle, who was also helping her, asks, "Why did you throw away your teacher's glasses? And now that you've thrown them away, why are you still looking for them?" She cried, "What can I tell you now? Because I had no idea those glasses would be so important." Then she apologized to Uncle, saying, "Don't worry, I'll check everything myself and clean up the mess I've caused." But after a long search, Yeju finally found Yusuk's glasses. She was overjoyed and started crying again, saying, "I've found them now. Teacher Yusuk won't die."
In the next scene, Yeju's brother, Yu-do, comes to give Yusuk the glasses at night, explaining, "I found them lying around somewhere. You put up a poster for them, didn't you? So give me the money." At first, Yusuk sighed with relief after looking at his glasses. But then, he told Yu-do, "Your number ends with 4073, and I have a student named Yeju, whose number also ends with 4073. So tell her to come here." Yu-do is shocked to hear that this teacher is incredibly dangerous. He denies this, saying, "I don't know any Yeju." But when Yusuk insists that he call Yeju, Yu-do is forced to do so. He dials Yeju's number and gives it to Yusuk. Yusuk says, "I know you're nearby, so come out." Then, we're shown that Yeju was indeed hiding there. After Yeju explains the whole story, Yu-do mocks his sister, saying, "How stupid you are." Then Yusuk scolds Yu-do for respecting elders and tells Yu-do to leave. Yu-do leaves, and Yeju cries and apologizes. Yusuk says, "I told you earlier to tell me if you broke the glasses. I came to the parking lot to talk to you about the same thing, but you didn't tell me anything." Then she cries and says, I was scared you'd deduct my points again because I feel like you don't like me. That's why you deducted 4 points today because of my love. Yusuk calmly looks at Yeju, who continues to say that she didn't really know how important the glasses were to Yusuk, and then explains how she got them back. Seeing Yeju's condition, he realizes that Yeju really put in a lot of effort to get the glasses and regrets her mistake, so a slight smile came to his face because Yeju had done so much for his glasses. So he forgave her. Then, as they were going home, he said to Yeju, "Well, you've admitted your mistake, but now there's only compensation left." Yeju asked, "What compensation?" He replied, "The glasses cost 10 million, but now they've become 0. And since I can't take money from my students, you'll have to do something else." Hearing this, Yeju was simply astonished. "Is 10 million too much? I really can't afford it, so I'm ready to do whatever you ask." He said, "You'll take extra math classes. Adjust the AC temperature before I come in, collect homework, clean the classroom after school, and lock it." Yeju was even more perplexed, wondering, how am I going to manage all this work? And even if I do all the work, how am I going to take extra math classes? That means it's only for top students. Then Yusuk says, "You need to score well, so you have to attend the class, which is every Wednesday at 5. Yeju becomes even more perplexed, realizing that she has an extra PT class at this time. "I can't refuse Mr. Jijeon. He has high expectations of me, so please understand the situation. I won't be able to." But Yusuk reminds her again, "Don't forget the 10 million won, so just do as I say." He pushes Yeju aside and goes into his house, while poor Yeju cries, "Why did I break this tyrant's glasses? And now I'm stuck in this situation." Well, we're shown that when Yeju, exhausted, returns to her room, Yudo comes and begs for money, saying, "Your teacher didn't give me anything, so you'll have to give it to me." Yeju initially denies, saying, "I really don't have any money. My pocket money is gone." But when she sees Yudo calling out to Mom, she gives him all the remaining money and then chases him away. Then she starts crying profusely. "Why does my brother know my secret? He blackmails me so much." Then she remembers Yusuk saying he'd lost 10 million won, so he had to make up for it. So Yeju realizes she can craft some great dialogue from these lines. Overjoyed, she sits down to write episode 2, but then she sees that her novel has received a lot of likes. This makes Yeju wonder if it's someone else's ID, so she checks it thoroughly. But it's her own ID, and the novel she wrote about teachers has received so many likes. She also receives numerous comments about how interesting the story is. It's definitely going to be a hit. Many people were also waiting for episode 2. So at first, Yeju fell down in shock, but then she became overjoyed that she had finally done it. Finally, people are liking her novel. Because before, it used to get only a few views, and now it has likes with lots of comments. So, after dancing to her heart's content, she sits down to write episode 2 with full enthusiasm. She's writing the dialogues with such concentration that she doesn't even realize that her friends are calling her on her phone to talk and sending her numerous messages. But she doesn't notice anything because Yeju's focus is now solely on writing a powerful episode 2. And then, we are shown episode 2 of the novel. When Dongju returns home late, Jijeon starts questioning him, asking, "Where have you been? How long have I been waiting?" He then starts teasing Dongju. Dongju pushes Jijeon away, but Jijeon's lips are injured. Dongju apologizes profusely, saying, "I didn't do it intentionally." Jijeon then says, "Now that you've admitted your mistake, you have to make amends. That's a full 10 million won, which is the price of these delicate lips of mine." Dongju, surprised, replies, 10 million won? He then retorts, "Every single thing on my body is expensive. No one dares to even touch them." Then, touching Dongju's body, he says, "You're poor, so you'll pay in a different way." Close then comes and says, "Meet me at my house at 5 p.m. sharp on Wednesday. Don't be a minute late, because I don't want to suffer anymore." Dongju looks at Jijeon in surprise because Jijeon has asked for Dongju. Then episode 2 ends. The next day, we see Dongju asking Yusuk, "Why are you bothering Yeju so much? I mean, she met me sad, and she thinks you hate her because of the misunderstanding about the video recording." Yusuk replies, "That's not the case. I know perfectly well that Yeju didn't record the video that day." Dongju asks, "Then why are you bothering her again?" Yusuk replies, I can't stand how Yeju could score a 4 in math. Dongju doesn't understand what Yusuk is saying. Just then, Jijeon arrives and explains that all 4 students have agreed to the after-school program. Now, I just need to find one more student. Dongju then explains that Yusuk has already added 10 students. Hearing this, Jijeon becomes jealous, and Yusuk is quite upset. Jijeon then exclaims, "Oh wow, have you found your glasses?" Dooju, overhearing this, asks, "Did you really find them? Who returned them to you? Did you give them a reward? How much did you give them?" Yusuk replies, "Why should I give them a reward?" Dongju then explains that Yusuk is saying that the person who returned the glasses refused to accept the money. Dooju then says, "Well, that's so. Then you should wash his feet and drink the water." Jijeon also jokes, "Yes, you should fall at that person's feet or the pigeon will defecate on you again." Hearing all this, Yusuk, in anger, endures their banter and says nothing. Well, in the next scene, we see Yeju coming to school, happily reading the comments from episode 2. She's overjoyed at how her novel is being liked. People are even speculating about what's next, and everyone's finding the chemistry between the 3 characters so amazing. Just then, Goya arrives and asks Yeju, "What's making you so happy?" He replies, "Everyone's really liking the new story I wrote." Goya says, "Well, if that's the case, then show it to me." But Yeju, as usual, refuses. Then Goya asks, "Do you write adult stories?" Yeju nervously replies, "No." Then she replies, "Do you write BL stories?" Yeju is even more surprised and nervously replies, "No, that's not the case." Yeju realizes from Goya's words that Goya doesn't like BL stories. So Yeju kept quiet so that Goya wouldn't find out. In the next scene, we see Yeju bring the form to the teacher's office, muttering to herself, "My father said when you're at a crossroads, it's always better to choose the harder path." Jijeon was overjoyed to see Yeju, thinking, "Wow, now I have 5 students to form a team." Yeju apologizes to Jijeon and moves on, giving her extra class form to Yusuk. Jijeon was shocked. Yeju said, "Sorry, sir, I really wanted to be on your team, but someone prevented me from doing so." Jijeon angrily retorts, "If the math teacher is blackmailing you, blink twice." Yeju starts blinking non-stop, showing how much she's being fooled. Yusuk then tells Jijeon that she wants to improve her math scores. That's why she's coming to his extra class. Which I can't refuse, right? Then Jijeon says, "But you don't know how good she is in running." Then Yusuk says, "But she doesn't look like an athlete to me. I mean, looking at her face, it is clear how lazy she is." Yeju got irritated that, "Do I look lazy to you? Whereas you have no idea how agile I am." Then he says to her that if that is so, then tell me, how many hours do you sleep in a day? Yeju bows her head and says, 10 hours? Hearing this, Jijeon gives up and says, "It's okay. You should listen to your teacher. He's only saying it for your own good." Yusuk is overjoyed, having proven to the Jijeon that Yeju is lazy. Meanwhile, Yeju is furious with Yusuk, saying, "He keeps getting me insulted everywhere. He even gets me insulted in front of all the teachers. So one day, I really won't let him go." In the next scene, we see Dongju reading a poem to the students, and Goya, as usual, just stares. But then, she notices that Dongju isn't using the gift she gave him. She becomes sad, and then Dongju recites the first line of the poem, "Tear me into pieces." The scene cuts to Goya asking Yeju why teacher Dongju isn't using her gift. Then Yeju says, "Who knows? He might want something else. So don't worry too much about it." She replies, "But I brought that gift with so much love." Then she tells him that when she turns 20, she'll propose to teacher Dongju. Yeju says, "But by then, you'll have someone else in your life because you can't love anyone for more than 200 days. Then Goya replies, "No, that's not the case. Teacher Dongju will always be in my heart." Yeju asks, "Besides his face, what else do you like about him?" Then Goya recalls how she feels pity looking into Dongju's eyes. "I mean, they're filled with pity," she says. "That's why I feel pity for him. That's why I like him so much." Hearing this, Yeju begins to explain that her mother also felt pity for her father. That's why she married him. But now she teaches her never to marry a man she feels pity for. Otherwise, your life will be ruined. But then she falls silent, as Goya feels bad about all this. So Yeju says, "You should propose to Mr. Dongju. I support you in this decision." Well, in the next scene, we see a classroom scene. Yusuk arrives and begins teaching. Yeju, seeing Yusuk's face, says, "Who would feel sorry for this?" Yusuk then leaves when class is over, telling Yeju that her grades are negative, so remember to clean up. Yeju then angrily replies, I don't know about pity, but seeing him always makes me angry. Goya says, this math teacher is really arrogant. He just keeps torturing Yeju. Just then, Jenny arrives and says, I want to try something in Korea with you all. Just make time for it. They all get excited and ask, what is that thing? She laughs. The scene cuts to Yeju, who is busy cleaning when she sees Jijeon. She moves closer and looks at him, saying, I wish I were in Jijeon's class. It would be so much fun and I would be able to concentrate, but we're destined to see each other from afar, and it's all because of that arrogant Yoo-suk. Jijeon looks at Yeju and asks, do you want to talk to me? Do you want to complain about Yoo-suk? Yeju says no. Then she starts helping him, even though he refuses. It's revealed through their conversation that Jijeon wanted to become a national athlete, but a leg injury shattered his dream. That's why he's now a teacher. Otherwise, he would have been doing even better in life. Yeju then explains, yes, I read about it in the newspaper when the incident happened. She begins to feel sorry for Jijeon when she receives a call from Yoo-suk, who first asks, where are you? And then tells her to get the printer and get to the extra class before he comes. Yeju says, but you can also give the printing job to Han-soo. In fact, she will be very happy, but he tells her that since you are the monitor, you will have to do this work. Yeju starts wondering, when did I become the monitor? Then she says goodbye to Jijeon and leaves from here. When she came to the class after printing the papers, she saw that all the top students are sitting here. That is why Yeju starts feeling uncomfortable seeing everyone. Well, when she gives the papers to everyone, Han-soo asks in surprise that, what are you doing here? I mean, you must have come just to give the papers, right? Then Yeju tells that no, I have also come to take the class, and Yoo-suk sir told me to do this. Han-soo becomes even more irritated, wondering why Yoo-suk sir invited her to our extra class. It's an insult to us top students that she'll be sitting with us. Then, when Yeju goes to give her a paper, Han-soo's friend says, oh, let her go. Sir must have hired her to distribute papers, because these extra tasks require someone free. Han-soo perks up. Then she tells everyone that this girl, Yeju, only got a 4 in math. Han-soo's friend laughs, and Yeju too keeps looking around, watching everyone mock her for her 4. This makes her feel even more uncomfortable. Well, for now, she adjusts the room temperature according to Yoo-suk's instructions, and does everything Yoo-suk tells her to do, but she doesn't feel like staying here at all. So, as she stealthily tried to leave, seeing the opportunity and also feeling quite sad about Han-soo's words, she bumped into Yoo-suk, who realized she was running away from the extra class. Then we see Yeju feeling embarrassed and overwhelmed. She tries to run away and begs Yoo-suk to let her go. She says she is too bad at math and doesn't belong here. She explains that even her tutor and cousin told her she is not good at math. She believes she is hopeless. But Yoo-suk doesn't agree. He asks her an important question. Those 4 points, did you just guess them? Yeju says no. She actually solved those questions. Then Yoo-suk gives her a powerful lesson. He talks about a mathematician who spent years calculating numbers by hand. He explains that math is about perseverance, not just talent. He tells Yeju that she already has that perseverance. Then he firmly tells her to go back to class. Then we see Yeju sitting in class again, trying to solve problems, but she is still distracted. At one point, she saw Han-soo putting on lip tint during class, which makes Yeju thinks about it. She might like Yoo-suk. Meanwhile, Yeju is thinking about something completely different, her web novel. She worries about when she will write her next episode. Then we see something funny and creative. Yoo-suk suddenly calls her name. He asks about episode 3. And Yeju starts explaining her BL story out loud. She describes a romantic scene between her characters, full of tension and emotional dialogue. But then suddenly, we snap back to reality again. Yeju was just having dreams of it. Then Yoo-suk wakes her up and asks about math homework, not her novel. He tells her to solve the problems from class and submit them by tomorrow. Yeju feels stressed and frustrated. Then at night, we see Yeju coming to a pajama party. Earlier, Jenny had said she wanted to try something new in Korea. Now we finally see what it is. Then we see a guest house where Yeju and her friends are gathering. It turns out they are having a pajama party. Everyone is excited and happy. Yeju arrives late, and her friends tease her for it. They warmly welcome her, and Yeju even give her a small gift. The atmosphere becomes fun and cozy. Then we see them eating together. There is a lot of food, and everyone enjoys it. They joke around, laugh, and relax. One of the girls dramatically says they should eat like there is no tomorrow, making everyone laugh. After eating, they decide to prepare dessert. Then we see Yeju and Jenny going to the kitchen. They start making snacks like roasted rice cake sticks and sweet potatoes. Yeju proudly says she will show the real taste of Korea. Jenny gets excited. Then we see a quieter moment. Yeju talks to Jenny and asks if she knows a novel called A Night in Paris. Jenny's expression changes immediately. She recognizes it and says it used to be her favorite novel. She even explains the story, saying the female lead, Isabelle, meets her boyfriend in Paris at the Louvre. Then we see Yeju connecting the dots. She says when she first saw Jenny's Messenger username, she felt something was familiar. And now she realizes the story Jenny once told about her boyfriend is exactly the same as the novel. At that moment, Jenny gets nervous. Then we see Jenny gently asking, "So you knew all along that I lied?" Jenny quickly explains that she doesn't actually have a boyfriend. Everything she knows about love comes from books. She feels embarrassed but finally tells the truth. But Yeju reacts in a very kind way. She smiles and says it's not a big deal. She understands that everyone wants to feel like the main character of their own story. She thought Jenny just really loved that novel. This makes Jenny feel relieved. Then we see Yeju talking about how she even learned Korean because of that novel. She says she read it so many times that she almost memorized it. Then Jenny starts talking about what kind of stories Yeju likes. Yeju says she started with modern romance, then moved to fantasy romance, and eventually explored more genres. After that, the group becomes excited, sharing their interests and favorite stories. Then we see them enjoying food again. They laugh, eat roasted rice cakes and sweet potatoes, and joke around. The atmosphere is warm and full of friendship. Then we see them going outside and looking at the night sky. One of them says there are so many stars, just like people in the world. Another mentions something Yoosuk said, that everyone is like a star in the universe. Yeju quietly listens, but suddenly, reality comes back again. Yeju remembers her math homework. Then we see her complaining loudly. She says she couldn't even enjoy the party properly because of after-school math. She doesn't know when she will finish her homework. She says she hates it again and again. Her friends remind her that she might get more demerits if she doesn't do it. But Yeju doesn't care anymore. The next day, Yeju stands in front of Yoosuk. She admits honestly that she couldn't do the homework. She even offers to copy the solutions multiple times instead. But Yoosuk is not impressed. He asks her if she even tried. He tells her to keep trying until she can solve at least one problem by herself, just like she did in the exam. Yeju says that only works sometimes, and this isn't one of those times. Then we see Yoosuk becoming serious. He calls her name and asks what he said about math on the first day. Yeju tries to answer but gives a wrong response. Yoosuk corrects her and says math is a subject that requires deep thinking. He realizes she wasn't paying attention before and still isn't now. Then he says he thought solving one problem would help her think, but now he feels she is a lost cause. He says he is very disappointed. Then we see Yeju standing there quietly, feeling hurt. She apologizes, but inside she feels confused. She wonders why he expected so much from her. Even though she feels bad, her mind still turns this moment into story material for her novel. Then we see Yeju back sitting in the library and ready to write her novel's third episode. She starts turning Yoosuk's harsh words into dramatic dialogue for her BL story. In her version, the lines become emotional and intense between her characters. She continues building the story, adding romantic tension and dramatic scenes. The next time he was still lost in her thoughts and finally completes her third episode. But suddenly, she notices a strange smell. It feels familiar to her, like a skincare product someone she knows would use. She tries to ignore it, telling herself it's nothing, but the feeling doesn't go away. Then we see a sudden moment. Someone tells her to move. When she fairly turns, she is shocked to see Yoosuk standing in front of her. Yeju freezes. And with that, the episode ends here.
Then Yeju quickly tries to shut the laptop, but Yoosuk stops her and makes her sit down, telling her not to move. He then starts reading the entire novel carefully. As he continues, he becomes increasingly shocked and angry, realizing what she has written about him and the other characters. Yeju stands frozen in fear, mentally panicking and regretting everything. She wonders where she should hide and even thinks absurdly about disappearing out of embarrassment. Meanwhile, Yoosuk continues reading the entire story from start to finish without stopping, which makes Yeju even more nervous. After finishing, Yusuk finally speaks and asks Yeju what this is. Yeju nervously replies that she has no idea and insists she did not write it. She even swears that she is telling the truth. Yusuk, however, believes she is lying and accuses her of trying to cover up her mistake. He then explains the characters in the novel, pointing out how each one clearly represents real people, including himself as the strict math genius. He reminds her of specific dialogues that only he could have said, proving that she is directly involved. Yeju, overwhelmed and scared, finally admits her mistake. She apologizes and explains that she got carried away because of their strong chemistry and unintentionally turned it into a viral web novel, which forced her to continue writing it. Yusuk, still upset, asks where such strange ideas even came from and demands that she delete everything immediately. Yeju refuses, panicking and begging him not to make her delete it, insisting she cannot do that. She says the story is her passion and that she cannot erase it under any circumstances, even if she has to suffer for it. She apologizes repeatedly and pleads for forgiveness, promising that she will focus on her studies instead. Yusuk, however, remains strict and tells her that students who write such inappropriate content about teachers cannot be easily forgiven. When she still refuses, he tries to delete it himself, but Yeju quickly stops him and locks her laptop with a password. This makes Yusuk even more frustrated, and he orders her to unlock it. Yeju continues crying and pleading, saying she cannot delete the novel and asking for mercy. After watching her cry for a long time, Yusuk finally tells her that since she refuses to delete it, she must bring her parents to school the next day so the entire issue can be exposed to everyone. He warns her that if she fails to do that, she must delete the novel immediately. This leaves Yeju completely shocked and broken. She returns home extremely stressed. Although her mother prepares her favorite food, she refuses to eat and isolates herself in her room, overwhelmed by fear that her secret will be exposed. She feels trapped between deleting her novel and facing humiliation. Meanwhile, Yusuk returns home but cannot stop thinking about what he read. Because of Yeju's novel, he starts misinterpreting innocent actions of his friends Jijeon and Dongju, imagining romantic meanings where there are none. Even when they are simply playing games together, his thoughts become distorted, and he angrily tells them to stay away from each other. The others are confused by his strange behavior. Disturbed by his own thoughts, Yusuk becomes frustrated with himself and starts questioning why he is thinking this way. He even searches online about boys' love to understand what is affecting his mind. At the same time, Yeju imagines a worst-case scenario where her novel is exposed to the entire school. In her imagination, she is publicly humiliated, and her friends confront her for hiding the truth about her writing. They accuse her of pretending to be innocent while secretly writing adult stories. Yeju continues to spiral into anxiety as even her mother arrives and scolds her harshly, saying she has brought shame to the family by writing inappropriate content. Yeju becomes even more distressed, insisting that she only wrote it as a fictional story and never intended to personally insult anyone. In her imagination, the situation worsens further as she envisions herself inside a car with her teachers, where each of them confronts her one by one. Yeju desperately tries to explain that it was only fiction and she meant no real harm. The mental pressure becomes overwhelming, as she even imagines her father defending her in front of everyone, saying she is innocent and only wrote the story because of financial struggles, asking people to forgive her. Her panic increases further when she imagines teachers punishing her severely, even harming her writing hand. In this nightmare sequence, Yusuk also appears, making everything feel even more terrifying. Eventually, Yeju screams and wakes up, realizing it was just a dream, but she remains deeply stressed and confused about what to do next. Meanwhile, Yusuk investigates the details Yeju wrote about him in her novel. He reads exaggerated descriptions, such as him being a math genius, arrogant, living in a dark room with lights mostly off, having unusual habits, no friends, and even strange claims about his house. He is shocked and frustrated, especially by how inaccurate and absurd some of the details are. On Yeju's side, her emotional breakdown continues. She vents her frustration by angrily cursing Yusuk, calling him responsible for ruining her life, yet she remains trapped between her attachment to the novel and the pressure to delete it. The next day at school, Yeju unexpectedly feels relieved when she sees Yusuk briefly leaving, thinking she has escaped the situation. But Yusuk returns and once again calls her to talk privately. He calmly asks whether she has deleted the novel yet. Yeju then explains her entire journey as a writer. She tells him that she has been writing stories since 8th grade, initially by modifying existing ones and later creating her own. She recalls how her first published episode received a few likes, which motivated her to release more chapters at once in a mass release, hoping to attract attention. Although only one reader initially followed her work, she became emotionally attached to writing, as it gave her a sense of purpose and identity. She explains that her imagination has become her world, and the novel is extremely important to her because it turned her life from darkness into light. She insists that Yusuk is now trying to take away something that gives her hope and happiness. Yusuk, however, responds logically. He tells her that she is only looking at her side of the story and not considering how others feel. He asks how she would feel if someone wrote similar stories about her and her friends without consent. Yeju admits she understands she was wrong and promises not to repeat it, but she still begs him not to force her to delete it because it has gained thousands of likes and readers are waiting for the next episode. Yusuk remains firm and says that while she sees him as the villain in her story, he is the one actually being harmed. He tells her she should have thought more carefully before involving real people in her writing. Yeju, still emotionally torn, tries to defend herself one last time by saying, "But sir, love is love," insisting that her story comes from emotions rather than malice. Yeju tries to justify her writing by saying that feelings cannot be controlled. She argues that love is natural, whether between a boy and a girl or even between boys, and people should not judge or feel uncomfortable about it. Yusuk immediately interrupts her and says that this is not his problem at all. Yeju misunderstands him again and assumes he is angry about the romantic scenes or physical interactions she wrote in the novel. She quickly apologizes again, saying that maybe those parts were inappropriate, and she understands if that is the issue. But Yusuk still disagrees and becomes more frustrated. He finally reveals the real reason behind his anger. He says he does not care about romance or feelings at all. His problem is something completely different. He angrily asks Yeju how she could write a story where he is not the main character. He points out that in her novel, Jijeon and Dongju are treated as central characters, while he has been reduced to a secondary role. Yeju is shocked by this reaction and tries to explain that in her imagination and story structure, he is just a supporting character, but this only makes Yusuk more offended. Yusuk strongly reacts, saying he has always been someone who ranks first in everything in his life. He refuses to accept being called a secondary character and gets angry that Yeju had the courage to place him in such a role in her story. Then, Yusuk makes a strange and strict demand. He tells Yeju that if she does not want to delete the novel, then she must rewrite it completely, but this time, he must be the main character of the story. Not only that, he adds another condition. Every episode must be shown to him before she publishes it online. He wants full control over how he is portrayed. Yeju is completely shocked and confused by this demand. She cannot believe that the problem is not about the content itself, but about his role in the story. She tries to resist and says that if he reads everything beforehand, she will not be able to use her imagination freely. Yusuk, however, remains firm and tells her that if she refuses, then she should simply delete the entire novel. At that moment, Yusuk receives a message from Dongju and gets distracted. He prepares to leave, but before going, he warns Yeju one last time that she must either write under his supervision or be ready to delete her masterpiece. He tells her that the decision is entirely hers. Yeju is left alone, deeply confused and under pressure. After thinking for a while, she finally gives in and agrees to write under his supervision, rather than delete her work. Yusuk seems satisfied and leaves. Yeju, however, is still frustrated and almost curses him under her breath, calling him a strange and unreasonable teacher. She is shocked that he is not angry about being written into an embarrassing novel, but instead is upset that he was not made the main character. The scene then shifts to a school meeting, where a famous television channel is preparing to shoot a program that will increase the school's reputation. The principal warmly welcomes Yusuk and explains the plan for the shoot. Each teacher is assigned a role for the broadcast. Dongju will present a powerful poem. Jijeon will talk about his journey from being an athlete to becoming a teacher, and Dongju will showcase his Japanese speaking skills to impress viewers. The goal is to highlight the school's talented staff and present it as an elite institution on television. The principal tells Yusuk that his presence is the most important part of the school's image. However, she also mentions that his broken glasses should be replaced or fixed for the shoot. Yoosuk reads all the documents carefully but refuses the request. He politely says that he cannot agree to it, although he is willing to help in any other way if needed. After saying this, he apologizes and leaves. The principal is left shocked and slightly frustrated. She insists that having a handsome math teacher like Yoosuk is very important for the school's image, but he still refuses without changing his decision. Because of this, the principal becomes upset. At that moment, Duju steps in and promises her that he will convince Yoosuk himself. Later, when Duju, Jijeon, and Dongju return home, all of them sit together in tension, realizing the seriousness of the situation. Duju says that if Yoosuk does not agree to participate, the principal might get angry and even remove them from the school, as she was already frustrated earlier. At the same time, Yoosuk is shown on his side, focused on something completely different. He is checking Yeju's web novel updates and wondering why she has not uploaded the next episode yet. Then we see Duju trying to be friendly as he asks Yoosuk to do it just this once, saying it will be over quickly, but Yoosuk is very stubborn. He gets angry and asks Duju how he can even ask for such a favor, considering they have known each other since the 3rd grade. Yoosuk clearly has a painful memory or a secret from the past that makes him hate being on camera. He tells Duju to get out and refuses to help. Then we see Yeju, who sits down to write the 4th episode, but she is currently stressed because her fans are begging for episode 4 to be uploaded. They are leaving comments everywhere asking for the next part of the story. However, she has a big problem. Because Yoosuk is watching her and is going to check her work first, she feels like she cannot write the flirty or romantic scenes she wants. She is worried that she has to change her story just to make him feel validated. The next day at school, Yeju starts avoiding Yoosuk because she has not uploaded episode 4 yet. Then we see Yoosuk taking his class, and after the class, he scolds Yeju while the other students watch them. Then we return to the online novel, We Were Friends. The story inside the novel becomes more intense. We see Dongju entering a luxurious penthouse apartment where Jijeon lives. Jijeon becomes angry because Dongju arrived late, even if it was only by a few seconds. Dongju apologizes and explains that he ran all the way there. Jijeon then asks if he had been with Yoosuk. Dongju cannot answer, but his silence already gives away the truth. The atmosphere immediately becomes tense. Then we see Jijeon acting very differently from before, and Dongju becomes confused because Jijeon used to be soft and caring. Jijeon explains that he is no longer the same person who followed Dongju around like a puppy. He tells Dongju that from now on, he will become his personal bitch. This dramatic line shocks everyone. Then we see Yoosuk and Yeju in the library, where Yoosuk is checking episode 4 and Yeju is tense. Yoosuk calls her and asks her to change the story a little. He believes Yoosuk should actually be the main character instead of Jijeon. He wants Yoosuk to become the obsessive lead character, while Jijeon becomes the regretful second lead. Yoosuk tells Yeju to give all the important emotional scenes to him and reduce Jijeon's role in the story. Yeju becomes frustrated because it feels like losing control over the novel. Soon, we see the dramatic scene of the novel again, but this time Yoosuk appears and says the line about becoming Dongju's personal bitch. This causes even more confusion. Dongju stops and questions whether the scene feels correct. Deep down, he believes the line should belong to Jijeon instead, but we see Yeju reviewing the story and insisting on keeping it that way. She explains that Dongju must slowly realize that Jijeon is not the perfect person he imagined. Then we see Yeju becoming emotionally exhausted. She goes to Yoosuk and asks if changing the story is really necessary just to make him feel validated. Even though Yeju disagrees, there is no choice except to continue. Then Yeju encourages everyone to keep going, so they restart the scene from the beginning again. Now, after completely reading episode 4, Yoosuk is satisfied, but inside, Yeju feels angry and trapped. She thinks bitterly that it is impossible to even write her own novel freely anymore. Then we see Yeju suddenly getting an idea. Yoosuk is checking the story but only reviews the original file, and probably never checks the actual online uploads. Then Yoosuk, after checking the episode, asks her to upload it and leaves. But we see that Yeju secretly uploads her preferred version online anyway. Then she smiles proudly after successfully posting episode 4 Real of We Were Friends. Then we see Yoosuk at night as he opens the web novel site. The newest chapter of We Were Friends has been uploaded successfully, and the story quickly starts gaining attention again. But suddenly, Yoo-suk discovers the uploaded chapter. He stares at the screen in disbelief and angrily mutters, "You little." It becomes clear that Yeju's secret upload has been exposed. The next morning, we see Do-ju trying once again to convince Yoo-suk to cooperate. He says there is no pressure and that they fully respect his decision, but it is obvious they are still hoping he will change his mind. However, Yoo-suk's expression alone gives the answer. He still refuses. Then at school, everyone is busy preparing for the EBC crew's arrival. The principal gathers all the teachers for a final meeting before filming begins. She warns everyone to be careful until the crew leaves and not to say or do anything that could damage the school's image. The homeroom teachers are ordered to inspect student uniforms and ensure proper behavior. She hopes everything will go smoothly and everyone nervously agrees. The principal specifically mentions the new teachers, especially Yoo-suk, calling him the star of the show. Even though Yoo-suk clearly dislikes the attention, everyone acts as if his participation is guaranteed. After that, Do-ju quietly reassures the principal that things are under control and that somehow they will get the footage they need. Then we see teacher Eden calling the principal Auntie, revealing he is her nephew. He jokingly says the real highlight of the filming will be his flute solo performance, imagining a dramatic spotlight and amazed audience. The principal hands him a drink from his favorite restaurant and insists he drink it. After drinking it, Eden suddenly becomes unconscious and collapses. It is revealed that the principal had mixed something into the drink to keep him unconscious until filming is completed, as she fears he might ruin the school's image. Next, we see Do-ju secretly approaching Yeju and calling her aside. He apologizes before asking her to do something important. He wants her to secretly record Yoo-suk on camera. She is shocked and uncomfortable. Do-ju tries to make it sound harmless, joking that if the camera happens to turn on, it will naturally record whatever is in front of it. But Yeju understands clearly what they are asking and immediately refuses. She says she cannot do it because she already needs to stay out of trouble and fears that another mistake could ruin her future or even land her in jail. Do-ju stops her from leaving, laughs lightly, and says Yoo-suk would never send a student to jail, but he continues pressuring her. He reminds her of the time she wasted fooling around in class and even mentions when she wrote an essay during math class instead of paying attention. Yeju apologizes sincerely but remains nervous. Then Do-ju becomes serious and says there is an important reason this task was given specifically to her, though she does not understand. He finally reveals the real problem. If she refuses, all of them could lose their jobs. He explains that these are essentially the principal's orders, and that everyone knows how strict she is. At first, Yeju says quietly that getting fired might not matter much, but Do-ju quickly explains why it does. He says he might survive somehow, but others may not, especially Mr. Dong-ju, whose injured leg would make finding another job very difficult. When he mentions Mr. Ji-jeon and stops mid-sentence, it makes Yeju even more anxious. She immediately says that cannot happen, and Do-ju agrees, saying that is why she must help. Then he says he already knows everything. Yeju becomes confused and panics, thinking he has discovered her web novel. He calmly says he is more observant than people think. Yeju pretends not to understand, but he insists he knows her secret and makes a deal. If she secretly films Yoo-suk, her secret will remain safe. Feeling trapped and terrified, Yeju finally agrees. After this, the scene shifts to the school hallways, where students are excitedly chatting about the EBC filming crew. The principal rushes around trying to control everyone and force perfect behavior, even sarcastically telling them to solve math problems if they want to enjoy themselves. Then we see a student named Gia sleeping in class. The principal notices something is wrong. Gia is not wearing her school uniform. She wakes her up and demands an explanation. Gia nervously says she washed her uniform because oil spilled on it, but the principal becomes furious, especially because it is the day of filming. She asks about Gia's gym clothes, and Gia admits she does not have them either. The principal orders her to leave the class and go to the counseling room until 5th period ends. But before things escalate, Yoo-suk suddenly interrupts. He calmly asks what is going on and tells Gia to bring her desk back. The principal explains that Gia will be isolated to avoid damaging the school's image if she appears on camera. She says Gia sleeps in class, ignores dress rules, and could cause problems. Yoo-suk becomes visibly upset and says hiding a student for the sake of filming is completely unreasonable. The principal argues that television is scripted and that protecting the school's image is more important. She insists Gia only needs to stay hidden temporarily. Yoo-suk firmly responds that if Gia is not allowed to participate, then none of his students will participate either. Everyone is shocked. The principal angrily asks who gave him the authority to decide that. Then we see Yoo-suk leading Gia away, telling her to pick up her desk and follow him. The principal glares at him and warns that she will deal with him later. But before the argument continues, someone announces that the EBC crew has arrived, and the principal leaves immediately. Then we see the filming finally starting. The EBC crew interviews students and asks why they chose Murim Girls High School. Jenny proudly says she is basically the school's connection and representative, while another student praises the beautiful sports field. But soon, the conversation turns into gossip about attractive teachers. The students excitedly argue over which teacher is the most handsome, and the girls continue joking and teasing each other while the camera records everything. Then we see Yusuk teaching math normally. He calmly explains a difficult problem and says there are two possible solutions under the given conditions. As he writes equations on the board, Yeju secretly becomes nervous because she still remembers the order to secretly film Yusuk. Inside her head, she panics, thinking that if Yusuk catches her recording secretly, he will completely lose his temper. But at the same time, she also remembers the threat about her web novel secret being exposed. Feeling trapped, Yeju finally decides she has no choice. Then we see her secretly preparing to record. Meanwhile, Yusuk continues teaching seriously. He explains tangent lines and different math formulas while the students pretend to focus. Suddenly, Yeju nervously raises her hand and calls out to Yusuk, saying she has a question. Yusuk calmly asks what it is. Yeju hesitates before asking something unexpected. She says she heard that a famous university overseas once offered Yusuk a professor position and asks why someone as talented as him chose to work at their school instead. The classroom becomes quiet. Yusuk looks slightly uncomfortable and asks why Yeju suddenly wants to know that. But Yeju says she has always been curious. She says it is amazing for a genius like Yusuk to teach at their ordinary school, so she thought there must be a special reason behind it. Other students immediately join in, excitedly begging Yusuk to answer too. The class starts chanting together, asking him to tell them the story. At first, Yusuk tells them to quiet down, but eventually he gives in. Then we see Yusuk deciding to share part of his past. He says the story may even help the students think more seriously about their own futures. Yusuk begins talking about the mathematical Olympiad. He explains that 6 selected students attended special training camps, and on the very first day of camp, they finished registration and immediately faced a difficult exam. But before Yusuk can continue the story, everything suddenly falls apart because he notices Yeju secretly recording. Immediately, Yusuk's expression changes completely. The calm teacher instantly becomes furious. He demands that the camera be handed over right away. Yeju panics and desperately tries explaining herself. She says Duju forced her into doing it because everyone was afraid of getting fired. Yeju keeps apologizing and running after him and says she only agreed because she thought the teachers would lose their jobs otherwise. But Yusuk is no longer listening calmly. Then we see Yusuk storming toward Duju. He angrily asks if Duju really told a student to secretly film him behind his back. Duju tries calming him down and says they should talk peacefully. At first, Duju pretends not to understand the problem, but Yusuk's anger only grows stronger. He says that out of everyone, Duju should know better than to secretly film him. The room suddenly becomes awkward and silent. Then we see Jijeon trying to calm Yusuk by saying the past happened a long time ago and that he needs to move on. But those words only make things worse. Just then, the principal comes and calls Yusuk to her office. After he leaves, Yeju asks Jijeon what happened in Sir Yusuk's past. Then we finally learn the truth behind Yusuk's trauma. When Yusuk was around 10 years old, he became famous on television as a child math genius. After appearing publicly, a dangerous stalker became obsessed with him. The stalker secretly followed him everywhere. They appeared at his school and even outside his home, constantly filming him and taking pictures without permission. Eventually, the situation became horrifying when the stalker kidnapped him. Yeju becomes completely shocked after hearing this. We now understand why Yusuk reacts so strongly to cameras and secret recordings. The experience left him deeply traumatized. Meanwhile, we see the principal speaking harshly to Yusuk. She tells him that this is the real world, and that simply being smart is not enough to survive. According to her, obedience matters more. She coldly says that getting filmed will not kill him, so she does not understand why he is making such a big deal out of it. Yusuk silently leaves the room after hearing those cruel words. Then we see another shocking detail. The principal shows him the suspension notice for Dongju. She reveals that while others might recover from losing their jobs, Mr. Dongju would struggle badly if he were fired. In the next scene, Yoosuk goes back to teaching math formulas despite everything, and the cameras are recording him. He explains average rates of change and derivative equations while students whisper among themselves. Some students selfishly complain that Yoosuk should have simply agreed to filming from the start instead of creating so much drama. The emotional damage Yoosuk experienced means nothing to them. Eventually, the filming finally ends, and everyone feels exhausted. Then we see teacher Eden waking up after sleeping through the entire filming session. He becomes confused and asks his aunt what happened. When he learns the filming is already over, he panics dramatically and screams in disappointment because he missed his big moment. In the next scene, we see Yoosuk going home after school, and Yeju is following him. She is also having a little pain in her stomach, but she still follows him. At one point, Yoosuk sits down, and Yeju goes to him looking completely guilty and ashamed. She sincerely apologizes and says that if she had known about Yoosuk's painful childhood trauma, she never would have secretly filmed him. But then Yeju corrects herself and says filming him secretly was wrong no matter what. Yeju admits she made a terrible mistake. Yoosuk listens quietly. Then he finally explains why the betrayal hurt so much. He reminds Yeju about the question she asked during math class earlier. When Yoosuk heard Yeju asking genuine questions about math, he became happy inside. For the first time, he thought maybe a student was finally becoming interested in math because of him. Yoosuk says he was honestly excited. He even thought his personal story might inspire Yeju to care more about the subject. That is why he planned to answer sincerely. But instead, he discovered Yeju was secretly recording him the entire time. Yoosuk quietly says that betrayal only hurts when trust existed in the first place. His words completely crush Yeju emotionally. Yeju keeps apologizing, but Yoosuk no longer wants to hear it. He tells Yeju to just leave. Yeju lowers her head and apologizes one final time for disappointing him. Then suddenly, Yeju feels severe pain in her stomach and collapses. Yoosuk panics and runs toward Yeju, desperately trying to wake her up. The scene shifts to the hospital emergency room, where Yeju lies weakly on a hospital bed while the medical staff quickly examine her. One doctor asks if she is in pain, while nearby Yoosuk stands anxiously beside her. The doctors ask if he is Yeju's guardian, and Yoosuk immediately answers yes. Then we see the doctors questioning him further, asking how long she has been sweating and whether she often suffers from stomach pain. Yoosuk admits he is not completely sure. The medical staff quickly tell him to wait outside while they continue the emergency treatment, and the atmosphere becomes extremely serious. Outside the emergency room, Yoosuk stares at the restricted entry sign, worrying silently. Then we hear someone say that people entering the emergency room usually fall into only two categories. Either the situation is very serious, or the patient is in terrible condition. And those words make Yoosuk even more nervous. Then we see Yoosuk noticing the doctor carrying something out from the operation room, and finally the procedure is completed. Yoosuk goes to Yeju, where Yeju begins overthinking everything in her head. She remembers feeling weak recently, losing her appetite and suffering from indigestion. Because of this, she convinces herself that she must have a deadly disease. She even recalls seeing a similar case on television, and sadly says that even healthy-looking people can suddenly become seriously ill. Since she collapsed so suddenly, she believes she does not have long left to live. The terrified girl begins talking emotionally about all the things she still wanted to do in life. Yeju says she is only 17 years old, and complains that after becoming an adult, she wanted to finally buy restricted novels under her own name and freely spend money reading whatever stories she wanted online. Then we see Yeju turning toward Yoosuk with tears in her eyes as she quietly says she has a really bad feeling about this. Yoosuk immediately tries to comfort her. Soon, the doctor finally returns with the test results. The doctor points at the image and says something had been building up inside her body for quite a while. The serious tone completely scares Yeju, and she instantly thinks she is dying. She starts panicking, saying she does not want to die, and even begs Yoosuk to call her mother. But then the truth is finally revealed. The doctor casually explains that Yeju was simply suffering from severe constipation. Everyone freezes in embarrassment. Yeju cannot believe it. The doctor explains that her intestines were completely full, which caused the pain and fainting, and the white area shown on the X-ray is not a deadly illness at all. It is simply stool buildup. After giving her treatment, the doctor proudly shows a new, clean X-ray image and cheerfully says, "Everything looks much better now." Yeju becomes completely humiliated. Then we see Yoosuk trying not to react awkwardly, but Yeju cannot handle the embarrassment anymore and desperately begs him to leave immediately and let her go home alone. Then we see Yoosuk finally leaving the hospital, while Yeju hides in shame. After Yoosuk leaves, Yeju's parents also arrive at the hospital. Meanwhile, we see Dooju, Dongju, and Jijeon at home discussing the filming incident involving Yoo-suk. They wonder why he suddenly changed his mind and allowed filming after resisting so strongly, and everyone becomes curious about what kind of secret the principal could be using against him. Then we see Yoo-suk returning home late at night. When he enters, the others quickly prepare dinner for him, with one person bringing rice and another preparing soup. Then Dooju sincerely apologizes for earlier. Yoo-suk immediately asks what exactly he is apologizing for. Dooju struggles awkwardly before finally admitting everything, apologizing for secretly arranging to film him despite knowing about his trauma and hatred of cameras. Yoo-suk quietly responds that at least Dooju understands now, and the atmosphere slowly softens as Yoo-suk forgives him. Then at dinner, everyone starts teasing each other playfully. Meanwhile, we see Yeju quietly thinking to herself afterward. She believed she was finally done embarrassing herself forever after the hospital incident, but the memory keeps replaying in her head. At the same time, she also remembers how warm and comforting Yoo-suk felt while helping her during the emergency. The next day, when Yeju is going to school, she meets Yoo-suk as he comes out of his house. We then see Yoo-suk explaining the causes of constipation to her. According to a study, the top reasons include low physical activity, eating too much instant food, and irregular sleeping habits. Yoo-suk calmly says those habits probably contributed to yesterday's unfortunate incident. Yeju quietly says she will remember that advice and sincerely thanks him for helping her the previous day. Then the other teachers come out and begin asking if she is okay, saying they heard about her hospital visit. Dooju even says constipation is nothing to be embarrassed about and tries to encourage her, but this only embarrasses Yeju even more. Then we see Yeju suddenly remembering something important. She quickly approaches Dooju and asks about the secret he claimed to know earlier, but Dooju looks completely confused. Yeju immediately realizes something shocking. He tricked her. Dooju never knew anything about her novel at all. Relief instantly washes over her as she realizes the math teacher never exposed her secret writing. Next, we see Yoo-suk taking attendance in class, but one student is missing again, Jia. Then Yoo-suk asks Yeju to come speak with him privately and asks why Jia keeps missing school. Yeju admits she does not really know. Yoo-suk then reveals something important. On the very first day, when he asked about Jia, Yeju was the only student who responded kindly. Because of that, he believed Yeju might be able to help Jia feel more comfortable at school and wants her to try becoming closer to her. He explains that if someone knows another person is waiting for them at school, they might still force themselves to come, even if they dislike it. Yeju understands, but still feels uncertain. Then she compares Jia to a cat, explaining that cats cannot be approached too quickly and that people must slowly gain their trust. Yoo-suk likes the comparison and tells her to try it. Then we see Yeju sitting on Jia's desk, feeling frustrated and muttering angrily to herself because Jia skipped school again. Meanwhile, Jenny begins discussing Jia, admitting they find her scary because she always stays alone and rarely talks. But Yeju says Jia is actually kind in quiet ways. Then we finally see Jia arriving at school. Yeju immediately gets up from Jia's desk and tries to ask why she came so late, but Jia does not respond, so Yeju returns to her seat. Soon, class begins normally again with Mr. Dongju's lesson. He explains that the school will hold both a poetry exhibition and an art exhibition, and every class must choose representatives. Then he asks if anyone wants to try writing a poem, and immediately the students point toward Yeju. They excitedly tell the teacher she is the perfect choice because she is an amazing writer. Her classmates explain that she is always working on some kind of writing project, and even mention that she won a creative writing prize the previous year. The teacher becomes impressed and, without hesitation, chooses Yeju as the class representative for the poetry section. Then Yeju suggests that Goya should help by creating the artwork. The teacher loves the idea and asks if Goya is willing to join. Goya happily agrees, and both girls promise to work hard, although Yeju already looks nervous about the responsibility. Then we see Yeju cleaning. Just then, teacher Dongju arrives and asks if she already ate lunch, and she says yes. Then they sit and talk, and the conversation suddenly shifts toward Yoo-suk. Dongju tells Yeju that Yoo-suk already knows she was not the person secretly filming him the other day. Yeju becomes shocked and immediately asks why Yoo-suk is still being strict toward her if he knows the truth. Then she jokingly blames it on Yoo-suk's glasses. Dongju becomes confused and asks what the glasses have to do with anything. Then she explains that when Yoo-suk once lost his glasses, she had them for a while. Dongju becomes surprised because Yoosuk never mentioned this before. Yeju admits they assumed Yoosuk probably talked badly about her afterward for throwing the glasses away, but apparently that never happened. Then the conversation shifts again when Yeju says she thinks it is really cool that Sir Dongju is a published writer. Dongju shyly tries to downplay it. He explains that he started writing poetry casually back in middle school, almost like writing diary entries, and for him, writing became a way to express emotions he could not keep hidden inside anymore. Then we see Dongju opening up honestly about his struggles. He says he failed many times while entering literary contests, but eventually a literary magazine noticed one of his pieces and gave him a chance. Even now, he still doubts himself sometimes and wonders if his writing is truly good enough. But over time, he realized something important. Writing is about putting genuine feelings into the work. Then we see Yeju quietly revealing her secret. She admits that she has actually written several novels too, and the teacher is immediately impressed. Then Yeju excitedly asks how someone can write an amazing novel. Dongju gives advice, saying the most important thing is making sure every character has their own unique voice. According to him, characters should feel like real people with different personalities and emotions. Yeju becomes deeply impressed by his answer, and she grows even more motivated for the exhibition project. Meanwhile, we see Goya returning from the store after buying milk for herself and her friend Yeju. But when she sees Yeju with Dongju, she feels jealous. Then we see Yeju meeting Goya afterward and excitedly telling her everything she learned from Dongju. Yeju admires how passionate and talented he is and talks about how he struggled for years before finally succeeding as a writer. Inspired by this, Yeju promises Goya that she will work hard on the exhibition piece, so Goya's artwork can shine beautifully too. Yeju sincerely wants everyone to recognize Goya's artistic talent, but we still see Goya feeling jealous after seeing her with Dongju. Next, we see Yeju in the library again, where she is secretly working on her novel's episode 5. She carefully separates the real files from the versions meant for Yoosuk to review. Yeju opens the newest chapter of We Were Friends, and as she starts writing, she becomes frustrated because the story is not flowing properly. She mutters that she is not feeling inspired right now. The web novel scene begins dramatically. We see Yoosuk suddenly grabbing Dongju and immediately asking why he has stopped coming to his house lately. Dongju nervously responds that he cannot come anymore, or maybe simply does not want to. Then Yoosuk brings up school and asks if Dongju seriously plans to pass discrete math without his help. Dongju stubbornly says he will figure things out himself, but Yoosuk already understands the real problem, that Dongju needs money. So Yoosuk coldly offers to pay him to come over again. Dongju becomes offended and asks what he means. Yoosuk argues that Dongju already accepts money from Jijeon anyway, so this arrangement is not really different. But Dongju immediately defends Jijeon and says he is nothing like him, and that answer clearly hurts Yoosuk. Then we see Yoosuk asking bitterly how Jijeon is supposedly different. According to Yoosuk, both of them are ultimately using money to control Dongju in some way. Yoosuk says that since Dongju is poor, he will eventually need to repay people somehow, whether through money or something else. Then Yoosuk suddenly brings up the 10 million won debt and demands that Dongju repay him properly. Yoosuk keeps pushing Dongju emotionally and refuses to back down. He tells Dongju to go ahead and take all his anger out on him if necessary, but even while saying that, he continues attacking Dongju's pride. He coldly says that in the end, Dongju will still accept his help anyway. Then Yoosuk asks a painful question: how much Dongju's pride is truly worth? Dongju asks if Yoosuk thinks he is weak and easy to control, but Yoosuk remains calm and tells him to stop wasting words and simply name a price instead. The atmosphere becomes extremely intense between them. Dongju angrily warns Yoosuk that he will regret acting this way someday, but Yoosuk immediately responds that he will never regret it, not even on his dying day. Then the chapter of the novel finally ends. After saving the file, we return to Yeju in real life. She sits alone, trying to encourage herself while working, quietly telling herself that she can do it, but she looks completely exhausted. Meanwhile, we see the 4 teachers leaving the school, but Yoosuk says he will come late and goes to the library. Doju jokes about whether the school library even has books difficult enough for a genius like him. Then we see Yoosuk arriving at the library and reviewing the newest episode carefully. The dramatic line appears again: "From now on, I'll be your personal bitch." But this time, the story feels different. Dongju tells Yusuk that this obsessive behavior is not like him at all. Then Yusuk asks an important question. What am I like then? The emotions between them become even heavier. Yusuk accuses Dongju of never truly caring about him before, and says Dongju only started paying attention after becoming close to Jijeon. At first, Yusuk reacts in disbelief, but suddenly he explodes emotionally and admits that he is jealous. He says he only acted cold because he wanted to hide his real feelings. But now, seeing Dongju with Jijeon is driving him crazy. Then, Yusuk desperately tells Dongju that it is already too late to run away, and that he needs to face reality. Without Yusuk, there would be nobody left for him. Those final emotional lines end the newest chapter dramatically. Then we return to reality again, where Yeju nervously watches Yusuk reading her writing. She becomes anxious because she cannot understand what expression he is making. Yeju wonders why he does not seem satisfied even after she rewrote him as an obsessive and emotional character. She is just looking in at him, but he didn't respond. And with that, the episode ends right here.